Hi everyone. In this CLO video, I'm going to show us how we can use the colorway mode and colorway editor to create multiple colorways of the same garment or the same outfit in the same file. So for example, if I wanted to have this dress in red and also in orange, then I would be able to use colorway mode to recolor this garment or any parts of it in the same file. So in this file right here, I have a dress that has a print added to it, a graphic, and a solid colored fabric. I also have a different solid colored fabric at the neckline, and then some top stitching applied at the hem, and then throughout the body also. So if I wanted to recolor any of this, I would be able to, and I could recolor as much of it as I wanted or as little. And so to do that, we're just going to go into our colorway mode, which to get to that, we'll click on the editor tab up here at the very top, and then click on colorway. This will open up our colorway editor, and you can see all of the details here about my current garment. So we have the color option right here, or the color category. How this works is it's going to list every single color that's being used in my garment. If I click on any of these colors, it's going to select everything that's being made in that color. So if I scroll down, for example, you can see I have two different top stitches using this exact Pantone color. So if I were to click on that color, it's going to select both of them. If I had multiple fabrics using that cream color, then it would select all of them. Or if I had a fabric and a top stitch using that cream color, it would select all of them. So I can select full colors of the outfit here, or I can select individual colors or items down below in their categories. I've renamed my current colorway to be Blue Stripe Original, but you can rename yours whatever you would like it to be by double clicking on the name up here. And then I want to add two different colorways of this dress. So I have 3 total. I'm going to create 2 new ones right now, and I can add them by clicking the plus symbol up here. And I'll just click it one more time. And now I have 3 different colorways. I'm not going to touch my original, which you probably typically won't either, because if you wanted it to be different, you would have just created it differently here. But you can always edit this one too the same way as your normal colorway, but you'll probably be leaving it the same. And you'll probably be just working on your other colorways since that was originally how you created it. And so we can go in and we can edit any colors of this garment or edit the prints or anything like that. But we won't be able to do any pattern edits or add any additional items like extra top stitching or anything like that to one colorway and to not have it on the other colorway. The only thing we'll be able to do like that is we can have graphics on some colorways but not on others, and we can have prints on some colorways but not on others. We're really just changing the material appearance. And so on my first colorway, I'm going to open up my object browser and property editor. If I wanted to adjust my cream colored fabric, then I would just scroll down and click on that. And then in my object browser, it selects that fabric for this specific colorway, and I can go into my property editor and change that color. So maybe I want this version to be orange, so I'll apply and close. And I go over a lot more detail on how to apply different colors to our garment in my video specifically for that, which I'll link to right here in case you have more questions about that. I also have this fabric here that is my print. So the print is actually listed here in the print category, but this is the fabric that my print is on, and the back of this print is white. So that's what it's recognizing right there. So if I were to click on that and maybe change the back of this print to a different orange, then you can see inside it adjusts that color. This is for the neckline. I have that solid color fabric here. So if I click on that and say I wanted to make this orange too, I could click and apply that. I did apply the same orange to both of these. So if I wanted to go in and adjust the color of those together, I can always go up to the color tab instead of clicking on them individually, and that would select both of them, and I could apply a different orange, for example. Apply and close, and it adjusted both of them. So then if I scroll down and say, for example, I don't want my print on this dress, on the orange version, I can always click on it, and I can click delete in my object browser. That will delete it, and it's just applied whatever the color of the back of the fabric was to the front, which is this slightly different orange that I had applied. We can always switch back and forth between our colorways just by clicking on them in the colorway editor, and you can see the print is still there on our first version, and then I click on our middle one and our updates are there. So then if I keep going down to edit it, I can click on the graphic right here, and I go over how to apply a graphic to your garment and how to recolor it individually in my video on graphics, which I'll link to. But if I wanted to adjust the color of just this graphic and leave it the same on my other version, first I would need to turn on desaturate to remove the existing color, which is pink. And this is because my graphic that I added was from an Illustrator file, and it was pink in that file, not because I colored it pink in CLO. If I had colored it pink in CLO, then I wouldn't need to desaturate it. But I'm going to click on that and say for this example, I want it to be a purple star, so I'll click on whatever color I want and apply and close. And then down here I have my top stitches. So if I zoom in, my hem top stitch is a double stitch right here, which is why I have 2 lines of it. And so if you have questions about adding top stitches, I do have a video on that, how to apply those, but right now I'm just going to show you how to recolor. But say maybe I wanted these to be the same purple as my star, then I could click on these and adjust that color there. So now those are all the same color. I do have another top stitch that's being used in this garment that is white, and that's just used in some other places, but say I want to leave that one the same, then I don't have to edit it. And once I'm happy with this garment, I can always double click on that name at any time and rename it just to keep my file organized. And then if I wanted to go and edit my third colorway, I could. So I'm going to click on that third version, and you'll notice my icon of this one hasn't updated, but if you did want to update those pictures, then you can just click on update right here, and that will just update everything that you just did at the top icon view so you can see it accurately. So making sure I'm clicking on that next colorway, I can basically go and do the same things. I'm not going to re-edit everything here, but if I did want to recolor my print, I talk more about recoloring prints in the texture editor video, but what I could do is I can always apply color on top of the print. So maybe say for this version I want it to be green, so I'll click on the green and click apply, and that's actually overlaying the green on top of my blue and white stripe. So it is slightly impacting the color of my stripe. But I could try to desaturate it the same way that we did with our graphic, and that would help some, but it would desaturate everything from the original. So it's basically trying to make the original as colorless as possible. So I'm not going to get the same striped contrast as I would, but if that's the look you're going for, you have the option to desaturate it or just to overlay it, or we can remove the print, or we can add another print. So if you had a green stripe that you wanted to add here, you could do that by clicking on the print here and then adding it in through the texture editor mode like I go over in our texture editor video. If on this version I didn't want a graphic, I can always click on the eyeball right here and that will hide it. And then I can go in and continue editing anything that I want, clicking on these colors. Say I want to recolor this fabric to be green also. Then I can click on that, apply and close, and anything else that I wanted to adjust. If you did ever want to bring your graphic back, because you'll notice that once I have hidden it, let's see. Sometimes, actually, if you don't have show hidden graphic checked, then when you hide it, it's going to go away and you're not going to be able to see it again unless you click show hidden graphic. Then you could click the eyeball and it would let you see it again. But if you're not able to see it, just make sure you have show hidden graphic selected. Then you'll be able to edit it again if you wanted to. So that's basically how we can adjust colorways, add different colorways. I'm going to close our object browser and property editor, and you could edit the color of anything in your file by scrolling down here. Even if you had additional things in here like buttons or zippers or things that we don't have in this garment right here. You can just get a different view by clicking show details, just if you want to see the image only. Or if you want to zoom in and out to see more or less of it, you can do that too. I'll click update to update my image. And then you can always switch back and forth by clicking on any of your colorways. If you wanted to delete any of them, you could right click and choose delete. And then whichever version that you are clicked on, when you leave colorway mode by clicking this X, that's what version you'll be in. So you'll see now my 2D pattern is orange, and those are the fabrics that I see in my property editor. Versus if I were to go back into colorway mode and click on my green version and leave, now I'm in that version. One other thing with colorway mode too is when we're rendering and saving snapshot images, you might have noticed that option to save all colorway modes. And I go over this a lot more in my video on snapshots and my video on rendering images. I go over all the details on how to do that. But if you want to render all colorway images, so I just went into render mode, and then I'm going to open up my property editor and go to my image settings, which I go over all of this in the rendering video, in the snapshot video. But you might have noticed that there is this colorway option. So I can choose to either render or save a snapshot of my current colorway, or all my colorways, or custom. So if I wanted to render this view of this garment or whatever custom views of this file in this colorway only, I would just choose colorway and it would just save this one image. But if I wanted to save this exact view of my two colorways, my two new ones, then I could click custom and click on this little button right here next to that. Then I would be able to go in and select which ones I wanted to render. Or if I wanted it to render all of my colorways, then I would click all, and that would save 3 separate images. So it would do all my render settings for each colorway, and then I would have all of them. So that's something that you can do with rendering images or snapshot images. But that's the basics of colorways. I go over a lot of the details that are added here to our garment in different videos. So if you have questions about how I added the print or how I added the top stitching or anything like that, probably in a different video, but this was just how to edit the colorway mode and use colorway editor. Something that can be really helpful if you are creating different color versions of the same garment or just trying out different color options for something and you want to see which one you like best, can be really helpful for that. So I hope this was helpful. Thanks.